بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. فما بعد, my brothers and sisters, James Adams, the man who coined the phrase American Dream, he said, there are obviously two educations. One should teach us how to make a living and the other how to live. Surely these should never be confused in the mind of any man who has the slightest inkling of what culture is. For most of us, it is essential that we should make a living. In the complications of modern life and with our increased accumulation of knowledge, it doubtless helps greatly to compress some years of experience into far fewer years by studying for a particular trade or profession in an institution. But that fact should not blind us to another, namely, that in so doing we are learning a trade or a profession, but are not getting a liberal education as human beings. Transpose this to the here and now, to what we, you and I, are attempting to do here by starting this after-school program. You are the front line, the guards on the frontiers of the soul, keeping it safe from the depredations of modern society and the corruption it likes to call values. Your work will protect not one, not two, but 3 generations. It will be thanks to your work that generations of Muslims will remain Muslims and not be lost in the false glitter of the modern world. And when you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will reward you in keeping with His majesty and grace, inshallah. I want to begin by emphasizing the importance of what you are doing, teachers, children, and parents. We are all partners in this. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because He chose you to lead. Work with joy because there is nothing you could do which has more value. That is why I say education is for life, not merely for a living. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, 2 eyes will not be touched by the fire. An eye which has wept out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and an eye which has spent the night guarding in the cause of Allah. You are those eyes who are guarding the frontiers of the spirits of us and our children. You are those eyes, and your teaching will inculcate in them that love and the awe and majesty of Allah, which will make them shed tears for the fear and love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the night. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the bashara of this hadith true for you in your lives. Perhaps it has never been possible for so few to do so much for so many. The after-school program is not about teaching a bunch of kids some basic things about Islam. It is about molding 3 generations and helping them to write their own destiny. It is not about them, it is about us. It is about your vision as you teach them. Constantly ask yourselves, what am I seeing here? Remember the famous story of 3 bricklayers. After the Great Fire of 1666 that leveled London, the world's most famous architect of the time, Christopher Wren, was commissioned to rebuild St. Paul's Cathedral. One day in 1671, Christopher Wren observed 3 bricklayers on a scaffold, one crouched, one half standing, and one standing tall, working very hard and fast. Christopher Wren asked the 3 bricklayers the same question. He asked the first one, "What are you doing?" The bricklayers replied, I am a bricklayer, I am working hard laying bricks to feed my family. The second bricklayer said, I am a builder, I am building a wall. But the third bricklayer, the most productive of the three and the future leader of the group, when he was asked the question, what are you doing? He replied, I am a cathedral builder. I am building a great cathedral to the Almighty. We are building something much more valuable than a building. We are building Rijalullah, men and women of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu. I want you to keep this in mind. And when you look at those children, I want you to look at them in that light. Not as what they are now, but as what they will become thanks to your input into their lives. It is our mission in this Maktab to prepare our children to become Muslim role models, exemplary citizens in their communities, and a blessing to their families and neighbors. To connect them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam so that they become walking, talking models of the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. To inculcate in them a love for the Quran and Sunnah so that they see the benefit of living by them. By living and demonstrating this in our behavior, to inculcate in our children Islamic values, habits, attitudes, high moral and ethical standards, forgiveness, and patience. First, let me speak to the teachers and volunteers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your intention and effort and may it be heavy in your scales. Parents don't usually think of their children as their most precious assets. Responsibility maybe, but not assets or investment in their own lives here and hereafter. If they did, and I wish they would, we wouldn't have parenting by iPad or iPhone. Parents would invest their time and their energy and their emotion in their children. Here in our Maktab every day, parents will give you their most precious assets to mold in any way you like. Now think about that. How does that make you feel? Children are a trust, an amana, which we are answerable for. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His help to do justice to this amana. You have been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create your own sadaqah jariyah. And you will be rewarded for every letter you teach and every second you spend doing it. Your every second in the maktab is ibadah. I want you to think of your choice to be a teacher or volunteer in this light. That way you will really appreciate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose for you. That is why all of us who are here in the maktab must work together only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sake, knowing that He is watching and knows what is in our hearts. We must work for His pleasure alone, nothing else. This is something to keep reminding ourselves every day, especially when we are faced with difficulties, conflicts, or any hardship. Remind ourselves that there is nothing else we could be doing apart from the actual worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which could be more valuable for us. We must remind ourselves and each other every day. For this, I suggest a daily 5-minute, not more, stand-up meeting, no chairs, where we remind ourselves about the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Asr. Do it every day, no matter how artificial it feels, knowing that it is shaitan who is making you feel that it is artificial. The Sahaba did this all the time, even as the last thing in their majalis. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَذَكِّرْ إِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We need reminders, and reminding is beneficial for us all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took an oath by our most valuable asset, time, a non-renewable resource which can neither be bought, nor sold, nor created, nor exchanged. Time is life, and about it we will be questioned. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, by al-asr, by the time, verily mankind is in loss, except those who believe in Islam and do righteous deeds and advise each other to be on the truth and advise each other to have patience. In my view, success or failure in a school doesn't belong to the children, but to the teachers. Children don't succeed or fail. Teachers do. If a child fails to learn, it is our failure, not the child's. Just think about that. If you were training a golden eagle to hunt, and at the end of your training course, the eagle cannot fly, the eagle cannot hunt, whose fault is it? Yours or the eagle's? But in our insane world, the child is made to suffer. Not here, not in this school. We will own our responsibility and do what it takes to ensure that no child ever fails. The easiest way to understand this is to think of yourself as a coach of a soccer, a football, or any other sports team. Vince Lombardi was a great coach because the Green Bay Packers won every game. There is no such thing as a great coach whose team fails to win, whose team cannot win. Taking from Vince Lombardi's quote, the title of that is What It Takes to Be Number One. He said, winning is not a sometime thing. It is an all the time thing. You don't win once in a while. You don't do things right once in a while. You do them right all of the time. Winning is a habit. Unfortunately, so is losing. There is no room for second place. There is only one place in my game, and that is first place. I have finished second twice in my time at Green Bay, and I don't ever want to finish second again. Every time a football player goes to ply his trade, he's got to play from the ground up, from the soles of his feet right up to his head. Every inch of him has to play. Some guys play with their heads, that's okay. You've got to be smart to be number one in any business. But more importantly, you've got to play with your heart, with every fiber of your body. I firmly believe that any man's finest hour, and this means man or woman, any man's finest hour, his greatest fulfillment to all he holds dear, is that moment when he has worked his heart out in a good cause and lies exhausted on the field of battle victorious. What Vince Lombardi is advising is what I advise you and myself, is that we must focus on the process. Yes, being goal-focused is necessary, but without focus on the process, quality will get compromised, and that means you will not score the goal. You won't score the goal. So focus on every detail of every class, every single day. Stand outside your class for a second and say to yourself, today I will teach like I have never taught before, and then walk into the class. Focus on every child every day. Please feel free to come up with new ideas to teach better, to make teaching and learning fun, to create an atmosphere where children love to come to school and are sorry when they can't. Here we will reward children for their successes, but we will also reward teachers. To honor and acknowledge that the child could not have succeeded without your effort. It is for us to ensure that the reverse never happens, that the child does not fail because you failed to do what the child needed in time. That means we catch learning difficulties early and spend the time and effort necessary to help our child get over it. I deliberately use the term our child, for that is what they are. And you are in loco parentis to them. They are your sadaqah jariyah, like they are for their biological parents, and you didn't even pay their bills. You are their spiritual parents. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gifted them to you. Let us thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this and show our gratitude. To the parents of the children, I say that parenting is your responsibility. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the honor that He gave you. Teachers and schools are an aid. They are there to help you, not to supplant you or to become substitute parents. Therefore, you must support teachers and the school by ensuring that your child lives in an Islamic environment at home, where what he or she is being taught is reinforced in practice. Remember that children listen with their eyes. They do not care what you say until they see what you do. When they learn the dua before eating, they must see that dua being recited at home before you eat. When they learn not to eat doubtful food, they must feel comfortable with the food that you feed them at home. When they learn that they must honor their parents, they must see you honoring your parents, their grandparents. When they are taught that backbiting is haram and to guard their tongues from bad language and profanity, they must see that example in their homes. When they are taught the importance of salah and the masjid, they must see you going to the masjid for the fard and see you praying tahajjud and sunnah at home. They must hear their parents reciting Quran at home. Remember that you are your children's first and most important role models. Ask yourself what kind of role model you want to be. That's the only choice you have. You are already a role model. Decide for yourself whether that is a positive thing or a negative thing as far as your children are concerned. We encourage the parents to participate in their children's learning. We will have halaqat for parents and others in the masjid during school time. So please come to those halaqat and polish up your knowledge. Don't just drop your kids and go away. Stay. There is no shame in learning, but it is embarrassing if your children know more than you. We are most grateful to the teachers who have volunteered to teach. They need your moral support. I hope you will give it. I say to you, let us make this the best after-school program that ever existed on the face of the earth. Aiming for anything less is not worth doing. Let us aim to become benchmarks for anyone who wants to run an after-school program anywhere in the world. We will teach them what to do and how to do it by demonstrating it ourselves, by doing it ourselves and demonstrating it. Not to show them, but to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu. Let us work, not because someone is watching or because we are getting paid, but because our work is our signature. It is our face. It is our honor. It is who we are. And it is our legacy, our sadaqah jariyah. I want to close by sharing with you my motto. I will not allow what is not in my control to prevent me from doing what is in my control. I will not allow what is not in my control to prevent me from doing what is in my control. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jalla jalaluhu for His help and for His mercy and grace. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.